industry. I mean, if you want to make a difference in the world and an impact, I mean, I can't think of a better industry to join, whether it's sustainability, public health, food waste, packaging. There are so many different facets within the industry that you can, hang your hat on and say, I want to make a difference in this area.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the FoodGrads Podcast. I'm your host, Veronica Hislop, a molecular science graduate student and career partner with FoodGrads. Our first guest on the show is, but of course, the founder of FoodGrads, Nicole Gallace. Nicole is a friend and a mentor and someone who I have had the pleasure to work with while on her mission to support the next generation of food industry professionals. In this episode, Nicole and I dive into learning about the exciting world of FoodGrads. We explore what FoodGrads is, how it came about, why the food industry is a great place to work, and what exactly is the Food Campus Ambassador Program. So let's get into it. Hi, Nicole. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on our new podcast that we're starting. I can't believe we've been talking about this for years, and we're finally sitting down and pressing the record and starting the first episode. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for your enthusiasm and passion to get this project off the ground. So I think it's going to be amazing, and lots of listeners, I hope, in the future that will get benefit and value from the different conversations.
Hoping that a lot of students here already know about FoodGrads, but for those who aren't familiar, could you tell a student what is FoodGrads and what's it all about?
I started FoodGrads because I used to recruit in the industry for almost 10 years and would have quite a few students and grads reach out to me asking for help when they were starting their career. And it wasn't something that I could support. So, that wasn't what I was getting paid to do, basically. And so I didn't have the opportunity to really help them out. But there was nowhere to send them either. I thought it was really interesting that, there wasn't anywhere I could say, well, you need to reach out to these people, they can help you. So I started FoodGrads essentially to support students and grads. I think, certainly entering the food industry, they are the future of the industry, and we all eat. So ridiculously important industry. And they are crazy important. I mean, without people exploring careers in this industry, where would we all be? We need the bright, ambitious, curious, socially conscious young people to pursue careers in this sector. So yeah, I really felt passionate about starting a platform. So I would say FoodGrads is an interactive platform to support students and grads. It's evolving. It definitely started more as a blog, and then evolved. We do have a job board now, and we're starting to offer different training. And then, of course, there's the content creation, things like this podcast that we're growing to really offer advice and support and be there as a community, essentially, starting out, but also to stay with people as they progress in their career. So yeah, it's a job board. It's a place to find information. Employers can subscribe to FoodGrads, join FoodGrads as a membership, a yearly membership, and colleges and universities can also join as members to get their students and grads more involved in what we're doing, and the school essentially more involved. So that's FoodGrads in a nutshell.
That's really cool, because what I like about FoodGrads, at least from how I've been participating in it, is that it has that connection to also being a part of school. So I like that with things like LinkedIn and such, it's kind of you're on your own, but hearing how FoodGrads is trying to incorporate your schools, it adds that extra layer that gets you involved. And I think that's something that I've noticed that stands out from it. But in your opinion, though, why would a student benefit from going on FoodGrads rather than something than LinkedIn? Like, how do you be active on FoodGrads as a student?
Yeah, great question. I mean, and I think it ties in. When you're young, you're busy at school. You don't necessarily think too heavily about, your job, your career, until you are in, the later stages of school. And I think where FoodGrads comes in is we get you into, different situations with industry, whether that's coming to events or speaking to people in industry for example, this podcast. Or interviewing somebody because you're writing a blog, that sort of thing. And that's through our Campus Ambassador program, which is super easy to get involved in. I know you have the experience as well as other campus ambassadors that we work with. You did a webinar a couple of weeks ago with CIFST. So there's lots of opportunity to get involved and to take that next step into industry and get to learn the players in the industry and the questions to ask, the people that you need to know, how to network, all this good stuff. And I think that's the true connection and that true, bridge that we offer. LinkedIn, yes, is an amazing platform. I'm on it every day, but I think it's huge, and I don't think it was necessarily created for students and grads. And so, it wasn't created for students and grads in mind. So that's where I hope that FoodGrads can sort of close that gap.
I guess I should even jump in. I know I'm the one doing the asking the questions, but I wanted to go back to you mentioning about the Campus Ambassador Program, because I know a lot of people might not be really aware of what that is in terms of what it is. And I actually started off, as you know, being a campus ambassador with you back when I was in, I think it was my second year of university. And the amount of opportunities the Campus Ambassador Program has given me has been really great. Now, I guess I should explain exactly what it is. How would I describe it? I kind of do whatever I want, but no. I guess the Campus Ambassador Program is a way to work with food grads to help out, to find a direction in the industry, and it gives you a place where you can show proof that you care about the industry. I think that's what it boils down to, and that's what I've stuck with. But with the Campus Ambassador Program, FoodGrads helps to support you in terms of helping to promote how great the food and beverage industry is. So when I first helped you out with the Campus Ambassador Program, we had been doing an event because I go to school at Ryerson, and I was in a chemistry program, and it wasn't very focused on the food industry. Actually, I never heard about anyone going into the food industry out of my program, particularly at school, because it was a lot focused on the biomedical program as well as biology. And I just knew that that wasn't where I wanted to go. So with help from you, I was able to actually put together some information that I was able to share with other students at an event that we had. And because of it, I was actually able to encourage some other students go into the industry. But as this campus ambassador, I've been able, through help through you, do other things and meet people. Like one of the things that has been one of the highlights of being in the Campus Ambassador Program is when we put together, what was that event that we took place at Steam Whistle? I can't recall.
So that was, such a fun event, and you were so instrumental in that. It was a career showcase, and it was in partnership with Taste Your Future, a government-funded initiative that we were involved with at the time. My goal was to essentially have students and grads involved. There's a lot of events that I think you probably can attend, and they're all arranged and hosted by people in the industry. But I really wanted to flip it around, and I think you hit the nail on the head even at the beginning when you started talking about the Campus Ambassador Program, that my philosophy has been, what do you want to do? Yes, you'd like to help and work with me as a Campus Ambassador, but I've always flipped it back. Well, what do you want to do? How can I support what you want to do? Because I think that makes all the difference. Rather than being told, oh, do this or do that, focus on this, it gives you a chance to really explore, and it can maybe take you in one direction that you pivot and say, well, I've learned enough about that, and that's not what I'm particularly interested in, but I do want to look at this now. And I think that's my goal, is to give you the opportunity to explore different things in the industry. And so, yeah, that showdown, and you took it upon yourself to notice the people in the room that weren't necessarily engaging, which I think is a huge part of networking, especially as a new grad. You're nervous, it's scary, and it's all new to you. And I love the fact that I remember you came to me and said, why don't I go around the room and look for people that aren't talking to others, the industry professionals in the room, and kind of just help them and introduce them. I think that was amazing. Again, it's so valuable.
Oh gosh, I forgot all about that. But yeah, that's what we're trying to build with this Campus Ambassador Program, is not only connecting you to individuals who work in the industry and helping ease that tension between reaching out and trying to talk to someone. I think that's one part, but the Campus Ambassador Program is also focused on building a community. Since I've been a part of the this program with FoodGrads, I really feel like I'm a part of a community. I've met so many wonderful students through this that are still my friends today. I've met individuals like Yancy, Jenny, Jonathan, Jeff, Fatima, all these people. They're all from different universities, and we're all surrounded by our love for the food industry. And I would have never met these wonderful people had I not been a part of the Campus Ambassador program. Because it's such a shape-shifting type thing, you can do what you want, but at the same time, you can be a part of a community. So there's a lot of avenues, and I really encourage students, if you are listening to this episode and you're a little interested to it, you should reach out to Nicole or I, and we'll put the links in the show notes how you can get in contact with us about the Campus Ambassador program.
And now, with COVID, we understand that it's harder to do things in person, but that's okay. You can do videos, you can do interviews, you can write blogs, you can take over your school's Instagram for the day. There's so many things. And like, you've heard me say this 1,000 times. I don't have all the answers. I mean, I always say to anybody that's interested, what do you want to do? Because they may come up with an idea that, we haven't even thought of. And we're like, wow, that's a great idea to get in front of students and grads and get the message out about the career path. I mean, it'd be remiss if we didn't mention the amazing book that you did. I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit now. I mean, it's a core piece of the FoodGrads marketing mix, if you will. It's got the most exposure and the most kudos from the industry. It was something that was missing. We've had so many compliments, and it's basically your baby. I mean, you created the ebook that showcases 50 career paths. What made you want to do that? So I remember, you wrote the blogs, right? That was the initial thing.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, Nicole and I, we created this book called Career Paths in the Food and Beverage Industry, and it showcases 50 careers from hospitality to working inside the industry to both the inside the plant floor as well as in the office side. The idea from the book came from the blog post, which I originally had been made as I mentioned before. So I was a student. I'm actually a graduate student now, but as a student, I knew I wanted to go in the food industry. But even though I did my co-op position in QC, I was like, there's a heck of a lot more careers out there because as I worked in QC, I start to talk to a lot of people, and I realized I don't know what the heck you do, and I want to know how you do it and how you got there. So the book kind of came out of just pure curiosity about where I want to go after I graduate, because one thing I realized as I was working, even in my co-op positions, is you can have a food science degree, and the food industry is a really weird place. I think that's distant from other industries where you can shift to other places. And there's people who were on the production floor, and then somehow they're in QC, and then some people are in sales, and now they're on product development. Like, I don't know how that happens, but it happens in the food industry. Part of the book was trying to figure out, how did these people get into these positions and what are my options? Because as a student, I didn't find the resources out there. Like, I couldn't find what a continuous improvement manager is. Like, that was a job I never knew even existed. So I wanted to put something together so students like who were in my position were able to look and find these careers without not knowing they exist, because I wanted people to realize that the industry is so vast and you don't have to be stuck in just one place. And there's so many exciting roles and people doing so many exciting things. I just wanted to showcase this and promote it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, and you did an amazing job with it. And I know, we were able to get industry involved with the book through sponsorship. So organizations like Cisco, Maple Lodge Farms, Gailey, Food Processors of Canada, Conestoga Meats, Dr. Oka, all got involved sending videos and different pieces of content. That again is so valuable, hearing from the horse's mouth, that we could slot into the book depending on the different career path that we were showcasing, and we, the way that we were able to illustrate the book as well. It just made it a fun resource, and so proud of that. And I think it was something, like you say, was missing. The fact that you couldn't find this information easily is alarming. And one more thing I'll say, as you're talking about the jobs, I think one of the things that's valuable with FoodGrads as a platform is showcasing that many entry-level jobs don't look as inviting and as appealing as you might like. I mean, that's the reality of the food industry. It's the reality of lots of industries, but the food industry, you're going to see, food packer. I mean, it's one of the jobs that we literally just posted on our job board, organic food packer, QC technician. These jobs, I think when they read the job descriptions, they don't look as glamorous and exciting, and they conjure up these perceptions of hairnets and factories, and why would I go into this industry is probably the question a lot of young people are going to say to themselves. But I think you hit the nail on the head that once you are actually in the door, there's a ton of opportunity, and you don't have to stay in that role, and there's no expectation to stay in that role. But the industry does lend itself, it tends to have a bias to start people off in those positions. I think it's because of the nature of food safety and the fact that you really have to understand the products and the processes and understand how every department works together. And the best way to do that is at the grassroots up. And so that's one thing that I hope that we get across with FoodGrads is, get your foot in the door with these entry level positions. But look at all these different opportunities once you're in. There's well-paid positions. They're not, poorly paid positions in the industry. You can work your way up.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of room to grow. And even if you're not satisfied with one, it might sometimes even just be this section of the manufacturing plant that you work at is not maybe the ideal. Maybe you just want to shift to a different packaging line. When I worked as a quality assurance technician, when I graduated, I was on the floor a lot. I got a lot of time to talk to the people on the floor. And that was actually one of my favorite parts of the job, because these passionate people, they've been working there for many years, and I had just started. These people knew the nuances of these products, and they were such a valuable resource about learning. I learned so much from them. And with people who even start in packaging lines, I mean, I know some people who started in packaging and now they're the machine operator, and they're the ones talking with the maintenance department, and they're telling them how to run the machine. Like, they know their stuff. And I think that people forget that. I'm going to move to another point, but the reason why I love the food industry is I know that a lot of people, we don't think of our food being, when they come from a factory, that they're processed and they're not as tangible as something you see like a chef passionately working over top of your dish. But when you go into a manufacturing plant and you actually see the operations and you talk to the people doing this day in, day out, you realize that box of cookies that you're eating is not just some machine that made it. I mean, there's so many people that are involved, from the shipping department to the people on the packaging line to the people running the machine to the people mixing the ingredients. Like, there's so many people involved in it that you just look at so many products differently, and you don't really see them as just a machine making it. You see it as a cooperation of like so many people, and it's amazing how products even come to be. And that's what I love about this industry. And with these entry level jobs, they don't have to be taken as just entry level, because a lot of people find a lot of passion in just doing that job, from what I've seen, and they're happy doing that. And I don't think that we should necessarily think about that's a dead end job, because I see these people and how much they love doing what they do, and it just makes me love packaged food so much more. And that's why I like this industry. So
you hit the nail on the head. I mean, and you've got a different perspective than me. I personally have never actually worked in the industry. I've always been on the HR side of things. But I have gone to visit many plants, and I can't agree with you enough that there is a level of passion and pride as you walk around these places. And I think the misconceptions that are out there, that people are unhappy and on the line, or, that's not the reality I've seen. There's good and bad in every industry, but, there's a true sense of pride, and seeing those foods on the shelf in the grocery store, they get to say, I was part of that. I made that, so I agree with you 100%. These aren't necessarily entry level. If there's something that you want to do and you're happy and you feel that you're bringing value, who's to say that's your level of success, and that's what you're excited to do every day, and you're happy to do that. The money makes sense to you and your family. Who's anyone else to say that's the job you should be in? I agree, but I do also believe that with the next generation coming in to the workforce, there needs to be people, hopefully, I think, have to see it for themselves. And I think that's the key, is to say, there are options. You're not stuck in a job for 30 years if you don't want to be. What the reality is lots of people choose to be. And I think that's the point you were making. They find their home, sort of thing.
Yeah, that is so true. And another thing I wanted to touch upon in terms of students going into this industry. So I know we've talked about the passion side, and it is a nice place to work. I mean, there are difficulties. I'm not going to ignore when I worked in QC, it can be a tough schedule when you're working long shifts. And if a machine goes down, it's not always the funnest time in the moment. I'm not going to lie, but it feels great once you get over that day and you've made that product and the shipping is not late, and that's a great feeling. But what are some other reasons why you personally think that students should go into the industry? I know that we also touched upon the passionate people, but are there jobs out there?
Yeah, I mean, great question. I chose this industry a couple of reasons. When I was recruiting, I could have gone into any sector and really became a subject matter expert. And I had various clients, and it was the clients I had in the food industry that I enjoyed working with the most. I mean, that's just the best way of saying it. There's no airs and graces, so I found that it was just an easy industry to work with. The CEO, the plant manager, whoever the hiring manager was, just extremely down to earth. They're feeding people. It's a nurturing industry. I love that. It definitely fit with me. I grew up working in restaurants, small village in the UK. I think that just fit with my personality. And so, from that perspective, I think it's an industry that once you're in it, you see that for yourself. You've mentioned the people and the passion. There's a certain type of person that the industry attracts. So that would be first and foremost. And for me, another reason why I think this industry is so important. A few years ago now, I did lose my mother-in-law to cancer. And one of the things that struck me through that process, I took care of her towards the end, and working with the medical team, food was an area where I knew there was things we could do to help her be healthier, and during those final months. And we got very little information from the medical team. It was keep doing what you're doing. We did our own research and realized that's certainly not the case. That truly, it's something that's been said for years, but food is medicine. You are what you eat. And it made a difference. And I thought, gosh, we need to feel confident. I shop in the middle aisles, and we can't feel guilty about the fact that we need grocery stores, and I'm a busy working mom. I don't want to feel bad about buying processed food and then questioning what is in it. Should I be eating that? Should I be shamed about what I'm eating? And I can't go to the farmer's market every day and buy fresh, wholesome ingredients and cook up a meal. I don't have those capabilities, and I don't think I'm alone. And I shouldn't be made to feel bad about that. And I think equally, the food industry, we've had blogs about this. Food scientists spend their days day in, day out creating, you could speak to this more than I can, but creating products that are good for us. And I think they're villainized almost in certain circles. And there's so much information out there now that people don't know what to believe, and an ingredients can say one thing, but it could be such a small amount in something, and you're immediately meant to think that it's bad for you. And I think that's something that FoodGrads, as we move forward, can address. Speak to the people that are actually making your food. Kids don't go into this industry because they want to hurt people. They go into it because they actually want to help people. If you speak to enough young food scientists, you can realize that. I mean, you must have something to add to that, having taken this path.
You hit the nail on the head in terms of, I don't know anyone who really goes into, at least because I know a lot of people who go into becoming food scientists. I don't know anyone who's ever gone, or at least not told me, that they've gone because they just want to make money and they just want to get a paycheck. And no, I hear about people like, for example, I know Niagara College is very good at promoting through their coursework in their food science and technology program, if I'm saying that correctly. A lot of these students, when they're making innovative products, they're going for the healthier kind, ones that can deal with food waste, those that are high in nutrition. They go for all of these types of things. And the amount of iterations that it takes to make these products, they sound so passionate about it. And I can tell that the people behind it are not trying to create, they're not just there for a paycheck. It comes from passion first, and keeping people fed in a healthy way, than it is just going in that direction. So
yeah, I mean, to answer your original question, why should people explore this industry? I mean, if you want to make a difference in the world and an impact, I mean, I can't think of a better industry to join, whether it's sustainability, public health, food waste, packaging. There are so many different facets within the industry that you can, hang your hat on and say, I want to make a difference in this area and truly make an impact. I can't think of a better one myself. Literally what you do affects everybody. I think I'm quoting Adam Yee here. I think it was Adam that said something like, if you're a chef, you can feed, a dining room full of people, maybe 50, 60 people a day. If you're a food scientist, you can potentially feed thousands of people with your products. So there's a massive impact that can be made. And I think the key is to sort of get away from the misconception of it being a negative connotation around food processing, food manufacturing. I mean, I see these things on social media, anything with around the word processed. And then they say, oh, well, I'm selling this. That's gone through a process, whatever their healthy option is that they're saying, we're not in, villainize food processing and the big food guys, yet they're doing the same thing. It's still a process. It's still going through a process, which is essentially what food processing is. So I think there's a lot of education to be had and communication. And I think scientists are starting to understand that. People just don't take things at face value anymore. We need to really explain things.
I'm a scientist, someone who studies chemistry. And when I hear the word processed, I'm like, well, anything you do is processed. So let's not really go into that subject now. Well, we'll end the conversation there because we've got a lot of good stuff just out of this short conversation. Let's just talk about what students should know before you leave about what they can do on FoodGrads and what they can do today.
Mm-hmm. So my advice would be, if you are currently in a food program or even in a sort of generic program, but you're not quite sure what you want to do, but food is something that appeals to you, whether you're coming at this from a culinary perspective on the food service restaurant side, or you have decided that working in food manufacturing is something that you're interested in, create your free profile on FoodGrads. There's absolutely no cost, but you, as we mentioned right at the top of the show, it's a community. You can learn from the people within the community. We can connect you with anyone within the industry, and so you're able to learn more. You can do that today. There's going to be more and more training available, more and more jobs available on the job board as employers learn about what we're doing and see the value in FoodGrads as their graduate recruitment strategy. So yeah, and as schools get more involved, so we're working on all of that. I think of us still as kind of a startup, but we are making an impact. We've got a really great following already on the different social platforms, and our goal is to continue to grow those. And Veronica, I mean, what can I say? This podcast, I'm so thrilled you started it. I have no doubt that it's going to be really popular, because I know that the conversations that we're going to have and you're going to have going forward are going to bring value. So I'm excited to see where this goes, and maybe we can do another one in a few weeks or a few months. If there's any topics that students want us to cover, I would definitely say get in touch. As you mentioned, our contact details will be available, because we're really here for you. The FoodGrads platform is your platform, students and grads. So what do you need from us? And we'll do our best to accommodate.
Yeah. So Nicole hit it right on the head. Students, this podcast is going to be for you. I've been a student. I've been there. I know how it is. There's a lot of questions that I wanted answered. And with the great world of podcasting it is today, we want to get those questions answered, because this is at the end of the day going to be for you and your enjoyment. So if you do have any guests that you might think are interesting, or certain topics, or a certain profession that you want to get explored, make sure to email me. If you want, my email is veronica@foodgrads.com. But if there's anything that you're interested with, please just reach out. We're going to go for this. We're going to try to make this podcast something great that everyone loves. So with that, I'm going to thank you, Nicole, for coming out on the show. I really appreciate it. This has been an enlightening half hour.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Veronica.
And that was episode 1 of the FoodGrads Podcast. You can find my detailed show notes on the FoodGrads website by simply clicking the podcast tab on the FoodGrads homepage. That will be the homepage for the podcast and where you can find any future episodes. Next week, you'll hear my interview with Joe Baker, the Systems Leadership and Integrated Strategy Advisor with OTEC. OTEC is an Ontario-based, independent, non-for-profit training, consulting, technology, and workforce development organization that delivers high-quality, creative, and branded solutions for the development and growth of a professional, skilled workforce. This episode is a great one because Joe and I discuss what OTEC is and the great work that they're doing for the hospitality and tourism sector. You can tell Joe is very passionate about what he does and is a strong advocate for good mental health in the restaurant industry. If you like this podcast episode, then let us know. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions for what you want to see on this podcast, then you can reach out directly to me. You can email me at veronica@foodgrads.com or tweet me at hislopveronica. I'm really excited to share these stories each week. This podcast is going to be awesome. So everyone, thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next week.